Hey everyone, it's Maydad here from the Footprints Retreat, and I'm joined tonight by Nadia, and we have a special guest tonight. I'm so excited. Tonight we're going to be talking to Dr. Mark Levi, who is a specialist on sleep. He's also a dentist. He runs his own clinic in Sydney. He's very successful and very knowledgeable on this subject. Good evening, Mark. How you doing?
Hey, Maydad. Great to have a chat with you, Maydad. Thank you very much for having me. One correction. Yes, my name's Mark Levi. Yes, I'm in Sydney. Yes, I've got a dentist degree from Sydney University. But no, I'm not a specialist in anything. Technically, Maydad, the Dental Board of New South Wales defines a specialist as I can't remember now, but let's just say I'm an industry leader in the space of sleep and breathing and airway, which I've been doing for 25 years. How's that? Is that okay?
That sounds amazing. Look, anything today, um, being a leader at a field like that is pretty amazing. And look, I've known Mark for a few years now, and I was amazed with when we did testings for me when you sent me to have some sleep studies and that, and when I visited you at your practice. And this is what makes me so passionate about what you have to share with people and our viewers today um, on this subject. So, Nadia and I have a series of questions that we wanted to ask you. Um, Nadia, I know you can't wait to ask the questions, and you've probably got a handful of questions to ask, and so do I. And I thought I'd start with my questions. Are you ready, Mark?
Look, I'm ready and cranked to share knowledge, and I must tell you that both you guys are involved in Nadia, Maydad. You know, the audience is very blessed to have your knowledge and to have you communicating. And both of you in the space of coaching, whether it be business or personal or health. And in the coaching space, it's critical to have a module that includes airway, breathing, and sleep. And now there's a good idea. Ask me later what books to read, but it's very critical to have that in the in your space. So you're doing everybody a great service communicating out there, guys. So go ahead, ask away, see if I can help.
Just on that note, we'll touch on it a little bit later on. Nadia and I run Footprints Retreat, and in the retreat itself, we include so much stuff in regards to. We have a breath coach coming in, a guy called David Pemberton, who talks about the Batico breathing method, and it's all nasal breathing. It's related to a lot of stuff that you say, but putting that
David's a
aside,
genius. David's a good guy. David's great.
he's a
David's fantastic.
he's a legend, David, and he speaks very highly of you. We're going to be sharing more information about that later on tonight in this session. But my first question was, obviously, as I said, I've known you for quite some time, and I've always been fascinated how passionate you are about, sleep studies, and was wondering if you could share out with our viewers how important it is to get good quality sleep.
Whoa, good quality sleep. Okay. Let's go back one step, Maiden. Let's go back one step. Let's go back to the nose and the mouth, the nose and the mouth, the nose and the mouth. Hey, Dave's there. Dave, the breathing coach, is there. He's getting excited. So you've got a nose, you've got a mouth. There's only 3 holes you breathe out of, or in out of. 3, 1, 2, 3, nose and mouth. Step 1 is this has to be big enough, real estate wise, big enough to get air in, number 1. And there's a big 1-hour seminar on, do I breathe in and out through my nose or in and out through my mouth, or a combination? There's a whole seminar in that. I'm not going to touch on that. And then you've got this air, And the three main components in my world are oxygen, nitric oxide, and carbon dioxide. And they're going down this little pipe down here to the airway, little pipe. And if I've got any tradesmen or any plumbers or any builders online, man, I love you guys because you understand real estate and you understand a pipe. And so if that pipe's not good enough, Maydad, you're in trouble. That's step one. Step two, at night you sleep, and that needs good oxygen from this good space, breathing. And if you don't get good oxygen, you're not going to get good quality sleep. But also, if you're not in bed long enough, or you're getting interrupted sleep or sleep fragmentation, if you want, I'll give you, well, yeah, maybe I'll give a 1-minute dissertation on all the things that can interrupt your sleep. You are, now, how do I say a mess? You're in a lot of hot water if you're not getting quality sleep. A lot of hot water. How about I finish with this one? Did you know Federer, this famous tennis player,
yeah,
he's got a sleep coach that travels the world with him, and he sleeps 12 hours a day.
Wow.
that's amazing.
So, there's a great story. Oh, I want to tell a story. You got me excited now. I was at a conference. Now, who was lecturing? You ready for this, Maydad? So there's a two phone call. Ready? Hey, doc, in America, I hear you're the best sleep doc in America. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Who's that? We're in the gridiron final, and whatever, what do they call that? Super Bowl.
NFL.
The Super Bowl. And we've lost 2 years running, and we want to win this year. Okay, what do you want me for? I want you to tell my team what to do sleep-wise. So he says to the guy, have a nap at 9:30 in the morning for 20 minutes before the game. And the guy goes, you're nuts. I'm not going to do that. And the guy goes, hang on. You rang me for advice. I don't care. Anyway, so the short version is the coach did what the sleep doctor said. They had a sleep, I don't know, 9:30 for 20 minutes before the game. And guess what? They won the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
And
Amazing.
so that's a really cool story to say, do you think sleep's important? Do you think it's good enough that Federer travels the world with his own sleep coach? And most of the elite athletes have some configuration of a sleep coach in their mantra. How's that, Maydad?
Amazing. Look, like
Do
I
you
said, you can
think
never stop learning.
Do you think sleep's important?
Yeah, definitely.
I've always thought sleep is important. Let's keep going, Nadia. Sorry.
I actually suffered with insomnia when I was young, and I always found those little cat naps were the be all and end all of everything. I could not focus without having, just to close my eyes and just sleep for 20 minutes. So yeah, now that I've recovered from that, I love sleep. Sleep is so good.
Napping's cool, Nadia. There's a cool thing that you've got to nap, I think it's about 35 minutes, 40 max. Because if you get into REM sleep, you're in trouble. And so there's phase 1, 2, 3, then 4, and then that cycles. God, we should have a seminar on physiology on how sleep works. But Nadia, it's got to be little. If it's too long, it mucks you up. But a nap is a great thing. Those 3 books to read, mate, I can't help myself. You ready?
I'm ready. I have my notepad here.
They're all on my website on drlevis.com.au, Dr. Levi's with an S. I know it's Mark Levi, but the website's Dr. Levi's with an S. drlevis.com.au, drlevis.com.au. So the first book that changed the world was about 10 years ago, I suppose, was Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep. Now, that book was in every airport I went to. If I went to a conference or I was overseas, that book was in an airport. And so, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I've met Matthew. He's a great guy. He changed the world. He got sleep on the map. That book's a New York Times bestseller. And then about 5 or so, about 5 or so years later, along came James. By the way, Matthew Walker's not a doctor. And then along comes James Nesbitt, and his book Breathe or Breath, Breathe. No E, I'm not sure. No E's. So James Nesbitt's not a dentist, not a doctor either. And so he changed, he spoke about, that book also changed people's perception. People turned up and, in my office and said, I've read Breathe and I didn't know. And oh my God. And that was really fascinating. And so I've heard him lecture. James did a lecture in the US. He's a really, really good guy, young guy. And then the last book really is, if anybody's a parent listening, is for children. Well, it's a breathing book, but I like to think it's my pediatric favorite book to give to parents with children 0 to 20 years old. So if you've got a child of 0 to 20 years old and you think of having a child, it's probably the best book written in the last 8 years. It's called Eat, Pray, Love. Breathe, Sleep, Thrive. Breathe, Sleep, Thrive by Dr. Shireen, Shereen, Shireen Lim, Lim. Now, Shireen's a friend of mine in Perth. She and I do more kids in Australia, I think, than anybody, I think, in breathing and airway. But Shireen's written the best book in the last 8 years on I think the 0 to 20-year-old space. I don't like her last 5 pages on how to fix it, but that's okay. Shireen and I have argued about that. But Shireen's managed to get 12 of my heroes around the world, 12 of my heroes around the world to sign off on page 2 and 3 and say, what a great book, Shireen. Now, if that's not a recommendation, nothing is, because really 3 books, New York Times bestseller #1, New York Times bestseller #2, and pediatric superstar killer #3, with all these heroes around the world going, good on you, Shireen. So, look, is sleep important? You betcha. You betcha, sweet Beppy, it's important. Really, 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 really important.
And that's great.
You know what, Mark, I'm going to hand you over to Nadia. She's going to ask a question. But just before I do, you hit on something there. Many years ago, I went to see Feldenkrais Awareness Through Movement practitioner, a lady by the name of Rebecca Bushby down here in Bondi. And she took me through biofeedback, and she was talking about the alpha, beta, delta, and different waves that are in your body and in the states that you get into while in your sleep. And it was just fascinating. I've always been fascinated by it. And the more and more I learn about it, the more I'm intrigued to learn even more. So, but in saying that, I'll pass you over to Nadia. I know she's got some questions for you.
Hi, Nadia.
My list of questions is growing and growing by the minute, so I know that your time is limited. So I guess, how did you get started in just this area? Because you said,
how did I get started? Do you want to hear a tragic story? Oh my God.
Yes.
Step 1, I was born. That's not the tragic part, guys. Step 1, I was born to proud parents, good parents. Step 2, I probably wet the bed till 13.
Oh wow.
That's a sleep and breathing thing. I almost died age 14 with asthma.
Wow.
In and out of hospital. That's my sister and I almost died out of asthma. In and out of hospital, age 14 with asthma. That's a breathing thing. Had a lot of jaw problems, joint problems, but about 18, about 23 or so, I get a dentist degree at Sydney University. So mum and dad are proud of me. I get to about 40. Oh, mate, you'd be proud of me. I get to 40. I'm weighing about 70 kilos. I'm running 10 Ks on the soft sand on the beach at 5 in the morning. I'm fit as hell. I just snore a bit. So anyway, I had to go to the doctor, had a sleep test in the hospital. What did he tell me when I went back? Mark, you are the worst sleep apnea patient I've seen in 5 years. Here's a CPAP machine. Go and die somewhere else. So that was the low part of my life with 3 kids at home. So I jumped on an aeroplane and went to the US the next day, I think. So I've spent about 20 plus years in the US training in the area of, remember, I've got a dentist degree, so I hang out with dentists a lot and doctors. So I've hung out in the US a lot, and everything I know really has come from the US. And I've got to put a plug for my guys in the US. Everything I know has come out of the US, and the US is leading the world unquestionably in this space. Not necessarily in research, but in the area of communication and education and getting the message out there of what, where, why, how, what to do. So how did I get into the industry? Oh, I was just a patient, Nadia. That's how I started. So did adults for about 20 years and done kids for about 10 years, I suppose. The kid stuff's about 15 years old. The adult stuff's about 35 years old. So 35 years ago, no one, well, just let me remember, when did they invent sleep? I think they invented sleep in 1959 in New York. A Jewish Russian immigrant scientist playing around with an MRI machine with his kid, or an MMR machine with his kid, and they started making a noise, and then they realized the brain was busy at night. And I think that was 1959. So that was yesterday. And so that was the first time they realized that sleep was not a passive thing, it was an active thing. So that's how I got started.
That's amazing. And
No, it's terrible, but I suppose it's good, hey.
yeah.
Okay, next question, Nadia, let's move on.
Actually, I love that you suffered and you shared your suffering, because that's where we all start, really. That once we know about things happening, then that's the value of, fixing it, and the passion behind doing it, and helping other people with it. So yeah, so I guess the CPAP machine was something that we were talking to Dave, the breathing coach, last week about, and is becoming really, really popular. As soon as people gain weight, and they just issue you with a CPAP machine and go breathe. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've used a CPAP machine.
Yeah.
Gee, where do I start? Okay, let's start with, did you know that in my world, 20% of people succeed on a CPAP machine and 80% don't?
That's fairly low.
Did you know that in America, you're not allowed to give someone a CPAP machine unless you offer them? It's illegal with I think it's guidelines, the American Sleep Academy. It's illegal to offer a CPAP machine unless you offer as well where are they? I'm in the office. A mandibular advancement splint, which is a plastic mouthguard top and bottom that changes how your jaw moves.
That's a TMJ stuff, isn't it?
No, bong. So that's a mandibular advancement splint. And in America, they call it a mandibular advancement device. There's a whole seminar on CPAP and mandibular advancement splints. So when people get diagnosed in Australia with sleep apnea and they get given a CPAP machine, very few of them even know they can have a dental appliance. How many specialists are there in Australia in the mandibular advancement splint world? Dave's shaking his head. He's correct. 20 of us, maybe 30 on a good date in Australia. CPAP machines have their pros and cons. They've got a lot of cons. Why are they increasing? They're not really increasing because we're putting on weight. That's one of the things. That's one of the things, Nadia. If you go back to the work of Professor Robert Coroncini, Corrinchi, Robert Coroncini. He's come out of retirement. He's in the US. He's a bit older than me. He'll tell you that 80% of 4-year-old kids today have underdeveloped jaws.
Yeah.
So that's 80% of 4-year-old children today in the Western world have underdeveloped jaws because, well, for lots of reasons, but mostly because we've stopped chewing and because our epigenetics has turned off for these two bones. Pardon me. So when I'm in the office and I see a 6-year-old 10-year-old child, I look at the parents and I ask them 1 or 2 questions, and invariably they've often got a sleep apnea problem or a CPAP or in that direction. So I'd like to say, I don't want to correct you, Nadia, but I'd like to say that CPAP handing them out is increasing because there are more and more, the cohort, the number of people that have underdeveloped jaws, which means that they're not getting the volume of air, which means the tongue's not fitting in their mouth, which means they're not breathing properly, is increasing exponentially every generation. And so don't blame it just on putting on weight. And just so you know, let me just check for a sec. Dave, you're a guy, right? You're a male. Maydad, you're a male, right?
Yeah.
And Dave's a male, right? And Nadia, you're a female, right?
That's true, yes.
Okay. Let's pretend you're both 35, 40 years old. And let's pretend Maydad's a male and Nadia's a female. Guess what? Nadia's got estrogen rushing through her and Maydad doesn't. So what's the big deal? Well, I'll tell you what the big deal is. Nadia's got estrogen, which is protecting her airway, so she tends not to snore and tends to breathe better. And Maydad doesn't have estrogen, and he's going to snore the living clapper off the whole roof, and he's going to get a CPAP machine, and the wife's going to complain. Now go back to Nadia for a sec. She's got what's called upper airway resistance syndrome, which is neck ache, backache, anxiety, headaches, libido problems, cold hands, cold feet, stomach problems. That's a label, upper airway resistance syndrome. But here's the really bad news. Here's the bad news. When Nadia, sorry, I'm picking on you, Nadia, because you're female. When Nadia's estrogen disappears because she's postmenopausal, guess what happens to Nadia? Nadia becomes the same as Dave. She turns into Dave. So if you look at the statistics of full-blown, roaring, labelled sleep apnea balloon in the women at about 50 or 60 because all of a sudden the estrogen's gone. So there's a bit of facts for everybody at home who's sleeping in a bed, sharing a bed with someone and going, I never knew that. Is that why he's got that problem and I've got this problem? And they're the same problem with different labels. Isn't that cool? And the answer that goes back to what are the solutions? There's lots of solutions, lots and lots of solutions, lots. One of the solutions, though, is CPAP. One of the solutions is a mandibular advancement splint. One of the solutions, but properly made, not a piece of rubbish from online. And one of the solutions is there's surgery, there's implants, there's some weight loss, there's some positional stuff, there's lots of stuff. There's breathing stuff, there's potato stuff. There's lots of ways to help it. So I'm not going to go into that today. But there's a long, long list to help it. Long list.
Wow. Maydad, I think we're going to have to get Dave and Mark on a call and we can run through all of these.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Both
You
so
know I'm going to be
knowledgeable.
home at a reasonable hour for my wife or I'm dead meat, Maydad. You know that, don't you?
Yeah. Look, we're really grateful to have you and Dave here. Look, so I guess we'll just keep moving with the questions before it gets too late because I know we can talk for ages about this subject. But only last week, I was jumping on Google and I was literally amazed on finding so much information about sleep hygiene. And I know this is a topic that you and I have spoken about in the past, and I'd love for you to enlighten us and on this topic and share a little more about it with some of our viewers.
Look, sleep hygiene just means what you do before, during, and after sleep. So I'll talk about that for a sec. It's an interesting discussion that Dave and I could happily have for an hour and or longer. Sleep hygiene is things like, no, I'll go back one step. If any of you are curious, those 2 books or 3 books are great. The other thing that's really, really, really cool is to Google sleep hygiene and allocate a spare hour or two, and you'll come up with about 10, 20, 30, 40 things that you go, wow, I didn't realize that was that important. Things like when you get into bed, make sure the room's a little bit cool. Maybe have a warm shower, a hot bath before you go to bed to elevate your body heat, so that when your body heat goes down after the shower, it will stimulate melatonin to kick in and it will help you sleep better. Other things like a quiet, dark room. Things like it's not the fact that you've got a mobile phone charging next to your bed. Well, that's not good. But it's the issue that if it's pinging even once, your brain, you're totally asleep, you're going to get sleep fragmentation, because your brain, whether you like it or not, is going to know that the light's going on the phone. Your brain's going to know that it's pinging, and your sleep will be totally disrupted. And you'll go from stage 1, 2, 3, 4 back to 1 real quickly. And you'll make that beautiful wave of sleep fragmented, which is a train wreck disaster. Would you drive on the wrong hand side? Would you drive, I don't know, with one tire that's got flat or something? I don't know. Would you do stupidity? No. So the phone should be nowhere in the room for about 10 different reasons. Yeah, you shouldn't be having a lot of screen time before bed. It's bad for your melatonin. You shouldn't be watching scary movies. You should go to bed. It's actually, you're meant to go to bed. Well, it helps if you go to bed the same time. Although the research is you're meant to wake up the same time. That's the magic thing. There's a lot involved in sleep hygiene. You don't want to, your bedroom should only be for sleep and intimacy and nothing else. And there are so many factors involved to help get a good night's sleep. I'm not big on a special magical pillow. I'm not big on a special magical anything, really. It's an individual issue. And if you go through the list and have a think about it and read about it, and every website you go to will have 1 to 10, and a commentary. It's quite easy to read, really. There's no right and wrong, but you've got to read it and say to yourself, what am I doing at night? What time am I going to bed? How long am I gaming for? Am I getting quality 8 or 9, 10 hours sleep? Or am I getting 6, which is crap? And to me, you need 8, 9, 10. But look, that's an overview, and it's also my opinion. And if you look at enough sleep hygiene, Maydad, you'll find a lot of different answers. There's no right and wrong, there's variation. But I think in the modern world we're living in, our sleep hygiene ranges from terrible to atrocious.
You've pretty much answered.
And you wonder why, just so you know, when kids get diagnosed with ADHD, Dave's nodding. When kids get diagnosed with ADHD, Professor Karen Bonnock, B-O-N-U-C-K, USA, ADHD poster girl for America. She will tell you that 50% of kids in the USA are diagnosed with ADHD. When they don't have ADHD, they actually have a breathing airway problem. Now, why is that? I'll tell you why. Because mental health mimics sleep deprivation. Mental health symptoms overlap significantly with sleep deprivation. And guess what the first thing they teach someone to do when they've got mental health issues? Get some sleep. Quality sleep. So I'm passionate about kids. I'm passionate about labels. And we have a society that's getting very poor length. That's length and quality of sleep. Gee, Mark, just back off. Wow. Okay, I finished that subject.
Look, you pretty much answered. Thanks, Mark. Both question 3 and 4 that I had for you. So I'm going to pass you over to Nadia. You're answering my questions before I even asked. So no, that was very informative. I've actually been writing a few things down. So thanks for that. I'll pass you over to Nadia. I know she's dying to ask you a question. Question 5.
I'm definitely asking a lot of questions. So yeah, I really like the 9-10 hours sleep thing. That's definitely a lot of kids are up gaming, like you mentioned. You know, they're stuck in front of a screen and they're not actually seeing like the outside world. And with the blue light from the mobile phone, so I've worked in IT for 25 years, you know, that distraction. I put my phone to sleep, you know, 10 o'clock every night, and then it doesn't come back on until 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's like my do not touch technology time. So thank you for reiterating that. That's amazing. Do you have any special stories of people who have suffered from sleep deprivation? Something that you get stuck in your mind that you appreciate, and how did they improve with their quality of sleep and the quality of life after?
Well, I'll give you 2 or 3 stories, quick ones, okay?
Yeah.
Let me think about this. I'll give you a child one with sleep fragmentation. So I've got a friend, so this child pretty much has their hand on their mobile all night, pretty much. Or hears their mobile ping all night. Consciously aware they wake up in the middle of the night to look at Instagram or whatever it is, TikTok or whatever, even for a microsecond. Brain's very aware that it's pinging all night. There's no way known to man, if you understand, there's another meeting for Dave and Mark to do what does sleep look like and the 4 cycles and how many cycles and what happens when it's fragmented. There's no way known to man that person can be sleeping restfully. And just so you know, sleep's responsible for the autoimmune system, really. And so, you know, if you're not sleeping quality, you're in deep yoga. And if you talk to, you know, you got to understand, did you know the brain is busier at night? Brain is 10 times busier at night. Did you know they found out it's got its own irrigation system about 8 or 9 years ago called glyphatics? Brain lights up at night like Santa Claus. It's amazing. Christmas. So if you're not getting quality sleep, you're not getting quality oxygen, the brain's going to suffer, the sleep's going to suffer. So that's one bad story, okay? But I'll give you a good story. I'll give you 2 good stories.
Yeah.
One adult and one child. You know, we see kids that, I'm going to give you an example of a kid that turns up. We look at him and we go, well, he's not breathing. Pretty obvious, like, oh my God, obvious. So we give him a myofunctional passive oral growth and development appliance to wear. The kid's 5, 6, doesn't matter. Bit of plastic in their mouth to sleep with at night. Yeah. Think mouth guard, okay?
Yeah.
So 5 days later, all we've done really is move the tongue, change the airway, change how the top and bottom jaw positioned and talk to each other. 5 days later, 2 weeks later, he's a better child at school. The aunties and uncles are noticing he looks better. The school teacher says, what have you been feeding the kid? And he stops bedwetting. Now, that's just from sleeping better and getting oxygen at night in a 6-year-old child, okay? By wearing a fancy schmancy bit of plastic that gets made in America. Okay? 2, adult. This is common in my office. This is common. Who do I see today? 31 years old, male. Normally they're 40, by the way. Male, fit as hell. Makes Mad Dad look like a slouch. 70 kilos, fit, running 10Ks on the beach. Must have been me at 40. So we look at all the anatomical features and we go through our homework and ask questions and do a lot of metrics and look and listen. He's got a small jaw, big tongue, not working properly, not sleeping properly, lots of symptoms. So they're the patients where occasionally we'll put a mandibular advancement. There's a lady in Melbourne. Oh, Jerry, who gave me a hug last Thursday afternoon at 4:00. Dr. Mark, is it okay if I give you a hug as I leave the office, please? Why do you want to give me a hug? Well, in 6 weeks, we put one of those mandibular advancement splints in his mouth and changed how he breathes. It's a grown adult, 40-year-old. And he wakes up with more energy. His brain fog's gone. He's got more energy and he can focus at work, and he's not getting tired at 3:00 in the afternoon and that's just because of A, oxygen, and B, sleep. So let's not argue which is which and which came about first. But, you've got to get the air down the lungs and it's got to be effective for sleep. So you've got to go to bed. I think that's one of those guys. Those are the same people I say, do you mind getting 10 hours sleep, please? And they go, I think I'm doing that. Well, you let me know. And they do that. And they go, oh, you're right. I only get la, la, la. And so I nag these people. Listen, it's okay for me to put something in your mouth, but you go and do your homework. You go get 10 hours sleep for me and give me a break. Come on, do you do your bit? I'll do my bit. And so the difference between sleep and not sleep, oxygen and no oxygen, and they're sort of overlapping, if that makes sense, because good oxygen leads to good sleep. You get someone good sleep, and you can reinvent a human being overnight, and that is very exciting. That is very exciting. And so there's a question, Maida, that says when someone's struggling, you asked me in the very, very, very beginning, Maida, very beginning, it's getting late. You asked me in the very beginning, Mark, is sleep important? If someone comes to you, Nadia, or someone comes to you, Dave, or someone comes to you, Maida, and says, do you think sleep's important? Oh my gosh. Do some homework, look into everything. There's lots of things to check. You need quality exercise. You need good food. You need, I'm missing something, food, exercise, sunshine, water, but you need sleep. You need sleep. You need quality sleep and quality oxygen. Quality oxygen. So, really, 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 really important. All right, I think I stopped.
Mark, yeah, we've probably only got one or two more questions to go, and it's been so informative. But what are your thoughts on ongoing education programs on getting good quality sleep to be implemented in schools and early childhood programs?
Right. You're going to fix the political system, are you, Maida?
Oh, if I could, I would, but
all right. Can I take the fifth and not answer the question? The answer is, the doctors and dentists and allied health can't agree to anything. The doctors, the specialists, the ENTs, the sleep doctors, the gastric guys, the sleep doctor guys, the lung guys, what am I up to? The dentists, the orthodontists, hang on, I haven't finished. Osteos, chiros, speech therapists, occupational therapists, breathing coaches. Dave, I was at a conference last week. They must have had 20 modalities there. It was such a cool, flew in JJ from Malaysia, one of the guys from the US. It was such, they ran a conference with about 15 allied health there. So the answer to your question is, Maydad, what was the question, Mark? Education. We have trouble agreeing amongst ourselves. So that's number one. But number two is parents have to be parents. Well, that's a hard one, Mark. Number 3 is, yeah, I'm all for education. I'll put my hand up for more education. That's cool. I'm standing here with you for 45 minutes. So, but to get it into the systems, yeah, I'm all for that. Teach something useful for the kids, but that's a bit political. Okay. Can you ask me an easier question than that, Almeida?
I think Nadia wants to ask you one. It's the last question, question number 9. Go ahead, Nadia.
Yeah, I guess how do people find out more about what we've spoken about with you tonight?
Well, they're welcome to talk to Maydad. They're welcome to reach out to Nadia. They're welcome to reach out to Dave. They're welcome to reach out to me. They're welcome to email my office on my website on Dr. Levi's, drlevis.com.au. They're welcome to join and watch I think I've got 2, well, I know I've got 2 Instagrams. Oh, by the way, I don't know how to turn a computer on, guys. Sorry about that. So I've got 2 Instagram accounts that my people in office run. One's for adults, one's for kids. They're both under Dr. Levi's, DRLEVIS on Instagram. That's a good information source. We get inquiries once a week from America and once a week from Europe, so we must be doing something right. But it's information. These days in my world, I don't do dentistry anymore. I just do kids breathing about 80% and adults about 20%. Kids are easy. Adults are damn hard work. So that's what I do. And there ain't many. We're working hard to get more of me around. And I'm not Santa Claus. Just been doing it a long time and pretty passionate. And that's all we do. But where else would I send someone for information? The American organizations are pretty cool, but that I'd read those books first. I'd definitely read those books first, and I'd, you can, yeah, that's where I'd start. How about that for an answer, Nadia? Is that too complicated?
That's fantastic. And
if they read those 3 books, if they read those 3 books and wrote a couple of little notes to themselves along the way, they'd have enough homework to keep them busy for 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm a huge fan of Amazon, so I'll put the Amazon links to those books, and I'll definitely put the links into your Instagram as well, because I love how we can just flick on our phones. I just hope that we can put our phones down when we're finished flicking through. So thank you so much for all of this information. I've got more questions, but we obviously have not much more time with you. So we'll have to get you back on so we can talk about the other things as well. But yeah, talking about the splints as well, and I actually had one without even realizing until just now. But mine actually had a little piece of plastic that kept my jaw forward, and I just realized that I didn't snore after having that. So it was amazing. Thank you.
There's it's just education for everybody, information for everybody, knowledge for everybody, so they can practice their own version of wellness and their own version of basic wellness without getting complicated.
Yeah, and there was so much information out there, especially on Google, and it's nice to have somebody who can explain a lot of that to us as well. Thank you so much.
It is a pleasure. I hope I've been helpful, Maydad. I hope I've been helpful, Nadia. I hope I've given some insights. I know Dave's here. Dave's the breathing coach. And look, I'm amazed. I'm just totally amazed at what people like Dave can teach and the results they can get outcome just by changing breathing. And we'll discuss that last week a little bit in one of the lectures, actually, Dave, with some people's sleep apnea being totally resolved with Buteyko. It's just whether you like Buteyko or not, I don't know. But the point was, we've all got a specialty, we've all got a leaning, we've all got a knowledge base, and the no one person is the genius, and there's no one tablet or no one surgery or no one magic wand, and it takes a village to get this wellness thing really as best as it can be.
Really does.
Dave, it's been amazing, Mark, and really, like, I know that you really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, and also in an evening. I'm sure this has been very informative, not just for myself, but for everybody here, for the viewers, the people that will watch this, as we're going to get Nadia to, if she could post this and share it with our friends and people on our social media pages. But once again, like, thank you for your time. I'm going to stay on board here for a little while with Nadia and Dave and share about our upcoming retreats and stuff like that, and some of the work that we do. But if you need to take off, then that's cool.
I'm going
And
to take
like I
off,
said,
and I'm going to say thank you for listening, and I hope we've been informative, and we'll talk soon. Okay, guys? All the best.
I'll have to catch up
Ciao.
with you for breakfast sometime. Take care.
Be very nice. See you
Lunch
later,
or
guys.
something.
No.
See you, Mark. Thank you. If we could just call David in. How are you, Dave?
Yeah,
Dave, are
great.
you there?
How are you?
Nice to see you again.
Yes, you too, mate.
How informative was that, eh?
That was very, very, for me, I could sit and listen to him talk for hours and hours. I do follow him on socials, and I gain a lot of knowledge because he's so experienced in what he does. Quite a few years behind him where he's at, but yeah, for me, I'm very simplistic in what I teach, and that's the Buteyko method and oxygen advantage, and it's just restoring the natural flow of breathing through the nose. I'd
You know
love
what's
to be able to refer people to Dr. Mark for these splints and the mandibular splints and expanders and things. So yeah, I think it was very, very informative for me.
you know what I found really incredible was, like, for me, like, I felt this session very empowering, as I said, and I knew you were sitting there listening to everything. Very empowering in backing everything that you've shared with me and with others in the programs that we run,
Yeah.
and that you come in and do your session. And what was really, really good to listen to and hone in a bit on was the fact that he spoke about your brain, your breathing equals your emotional behavior. I've got a guy at my gym that suffers from mental health, suffers from sleep deprivation, and suffers from an eating disorder. And I bet you, and I'm speaking to someone else about this, that if they address this the way we've been talking about, with proper breathing, proper night routine, and good sleep hygiene, and some of the, even the simple things that Dr. Levi was talking about, that Mark was sharing, I bet, I can't guarantee you because I'm not in a position to guarantee anything like that, but I bet that would solve a lot of their problems.
Mate,
But
100%. I'm a big believer, and I know it works because it's worked with me and a lot of my clients as well. It's just if we can get them just to be more conscious of the way they breathe, and then it's a chain reaction from there. We fix their breathing, nasal breathing, and then all of a sudden they are getting the oxygen that their body requires to start working more efficiently. And then from that becomes the good sleep, and then becomes the less tired, the less breathlessness, just walking up a hill, more time to play with the kids, more active. Yes, now I can go to the gym, and all of a sudden you start making better decisions. So you start eating better. You start going and getting that 10 hours sleep. You're actually resting and restoring, which is what sleep should all be about.
I want to share something with you, Dave. I'm just going to refer it to like sports. Let's say the art of boxing, because I'm involved in boxing a lot. I have been for many years, and you see, this is why it's important to be so fit when you're preparing for a fight, especially 12 rounds, 10-round fight, because you see in fights for the first 4 rounds, fighters are really sharp, and as the fight goes on, they start getting sloppy because they get tired. The mind can't articulate as sharp as it did when they were really earlier in the fight. It's just not as sharp. And isn't it interesting when he spoke about, like, have you noticed when you don't get quality sleep, a good night's sleep, and then when you do, how you perform or your ability to think better? And this is why I've taken the time out to sleep and have a little siesta in the middle of the day to try and get to sleep at the same time in the evening and have my evening routine, whether it's box breathing, etc. But it's incredible, all that you were speaking about with the and Mark Levi just kind of basically enforced that even more about the mouth breathing and that,
Oh,
tonight.
100%. And the other two thing, I'm really glad that he mentioned James Nestor's book, Breath, Science of a Lost Art. If anybody wants to get into breathing or to the world behind our breath and the power of our breath, that book should be number one. It is such an eye-opening book, and I've referred a lot of clients to read it, and they just can't believe that why don't we get taught how to breathe? Which is one of my big things. We don't get taught how to breathe because it's not automatic, but there is a way that we should be breathing. And if we don't breathe correctly from a young age, it can affect, and this is what he was alluding to Dr. Mark, was how a child breathes when they're younger can actually affect the way they look in the future with the long faces and the high palates and the overcrowding of teeth and the stifled jaw growth and all the rest of it. And it's absolutely amazing that the power that this breath holds.
You know
Yeah.
what's what it Mark was what when Mark was talking about, and Nadia and Dave, when Mark was sharing about from this generation. And every generation, it's astounding how many people are, bedwetting still, just, and it's all related to breath. Can you imagine all the parents listening to this? And this is why I asked the question, and I shared this with Nadia when I wrote all those questions down in regards to implementing programs and ongoing education for, I'm not saying preschool and that, but just, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds. Um, the benefits would be just amazing, I mean,
Yeah. Mate, Ed, it's something that, as Mark said, he's trying to find. Dr. Mark says is trying to find a lot more of him because there is a lot of resistance out there because we automatically breathe. But I believe my purpose, clearly it aligns with Dr. Mark, is just to educate people how to breathe. And it was interesting to note that he said 80%, he doesn't do dentistry anymore. He's all about the airway health, and that's it, which for me is absolutely phenomenal. That he's out there doing what he's doing to rectify the breathing that we have. It's a problem in Australia or in Sydney to start off with. There should be more of like him out there teaching what he teaches. And yeah, as I said
100%.
to you before, I could listen to him all day.
Yeah. Look, this has been an amazing session. Nadia, do you have anything to add, or I've just really enjoyed listening to what you had to say, what Mark had to say, and it's just I've taken notes. And Nadia, I noticed you typed a few things down. It'd be good to go over those
Yeah,
on Thursday when I see you in the morning.
definitely. So I've literally gone and done a quick Google search on these 3 books, and I'm going to put the links into Amazon for them. And I think I've just clicked add to cart on all 3, and my credit card
Awesome.
held and click yes. So that's probably great readings, and there's a lot of information out on Google, and to have that resource available to us in this day and age and not use it is just crazy. So yeah, looking forward to doing your retreat in July, and the dates are the 18th, 19th, and 20th, not the 17th to the 19th. I'm sure we'll have Dave on board with some breathing coaching during that. I'm thinking about coming up to Sydney from Adelaide to join you with that as well. So that's going to be great. We have nutrition. We have a bit of yoga, I think you said. We're going to do some movement,
Yoga on the beach.
mindset, and TT, a bit of coaching, and I'm really looking forward to it. So if you do have any questions or any if you just want to register and pay, that's fine too. I'll put the link into the comments of the video once I've got that updated. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to next week when we'll be talking, just Maydad and myself are going to be talking about some mental health topics, and the big part of that is, you know, having that sleep and that breathing technique and the routine, and you know, identifying your issues and being able to accept and regenerate after having those things as well. So that's all I have to say.
That's beautiful. Look, yeah, like I'm really looking forward to the retreat too. Just to add to that, we are going to have, last one that we had was amazing. We had a corporate group and we did ice baths. We had Dave with his teaching us his Batico knowledge on Batico with the breathing coach is Dave, and we did ice baths, we had infrared saunas, every participant had a massage, we had amazing meals and detoxing smoothies and acai bowls, boxing workout, meditation, neural transformation therapy sessions, vision sessions, and the climax of this retreat, right at the end, everybody got to write down what major breakthroughs they wanted to make, and they wrote them on a board. And at the end, everybody came together and we did all these team building exercises. But this final session that we had, they got to break through the boards by breaking through like a karate board and a chopping board, and breaking up. And they got to keep the boards because the board had, each board had, each person wrote what they wanted to break through, whether it be they wanted to achieve a certain goal, or they wanted to, you know, get fit, or, you know, whatever it may be. And it's been amazing. We've been able to keep in touch with everybody, and we've been able to get some great, you know, testimonies and from people that did the retreat. And I just can't wait and look forward to having Dave and Nadia, everybody from Nikki, the nutritionist, and doing it all again. And it's, if you want to know more about it, hit the link below, shoot us a message, or give Nadia a call. We'll leave all that information for you to check out, and look forward to seeing you next week, as Nadia said, when we'll be discussing the topic of mental health. And right now, the mental health problem in the population is anywhere from 2 or 3 men out of 5 suffer from some form of mental health. And I know Dave understands this situation really well, because he works in this industry and he's got a wealth of knowledge. And the same for women. 3 or 4 women out of 5 suffer from some form of mental health illness. And it's not just sleep. It's trauma. It's other things that they've experienced, but it's the ability to take responsibility for your actions, because at the end of the day, we control where we want to be. But once again, thank you, Dave, for being here, and great to see you, and looking forward to catching up with you at the retreat. I'm sure we'll catch up before then. And Nadia, we'll call it a day, eh?
That's right. I'm gonna get some sleep.
Wonderful.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone.
That's
Have an amazing evening, Dave. Nadia,
You too. See you soon.
see you later. Bye.